stir. Yeah, fuck the standing on the side. Yeah, lady with the cash now. Yeah, lady with the cash now. Hey, lady with the cash now. Yeah, lady with the cash now. Hey, lady with the cash now. Yeah, 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 yeah.
The day had started on edge. You and JIMIN had barely exchanged words during breakfast, and the tension had only escalated from there. By evening, the two of you were in his office, and a simple disagreement had spiraled out of control. I don't understand why you always have to control everything, JIMIN, you snapped, arms crossed as you stood by the window. JIMIN leaned back in his chair, his expression cold and impassive. And I don't understand why you think defying me at every turn is productive. I'm not defying you. I'm trying to have an opinion, something you clearly can't handle. His jaw tightened. I can't handle opinions, Ryan. What I can't handle is behavior. You let out a humorless laugh, turning to face him. You're calling me because I dared to meet a friend for lunch without clearing it with you first. She's not just a friend, he said sharply, standing up. She's a reporter who had published more gossip about me than I care to count. Did it ever occur to you that meeting her could cause a... She's my friend from before I met you, JIMIN. You, back. Not everything is about your public image. Maybe, for once, you could trust me instead of trying to control me like I'm one of your employees. His eyes darkened, and his voice dropped to a low tone. I'm protecting you, Ryan. You don't understand the kind of scrutiny I'm under, the kind of people who are watching us. And maybe I'd understand if you actually talked to me instead of just giving orders, you retorted, your voice cracking slightly. But no, you're JIMIN, the billionaire who always knows best, who thinks he can fix everything by throwing money at it or issuing commands. D seemed to land like a blow. But then he said, if you can't see that everything I do is for your sake, then I don't know what else to say to you. That's just it, JIMIN, you said, tears stinging your eyes. You do things for me, but you never do them with me. It's like I'm just another item on your to-do list. His expression faltered, a flicker of something like guilt crossing his face. But instead of softening, he turned away, his voice colder than ever. If that's how you feel, maybe we need some time to think about what this marriage actually means to us, he said. Your heart clenched, but you refused to let him see how much his words hurt. Fine, you said. I'll think about it. Without waiting for a reply, you stormed out of the office, leaving JIMIN standing there alone. The sprawling mansion was unusually quiet, with an air of tension in the halls. You had been giving your cold billionaire husband, JIMIN, the silent treatment for 2 days straight after a particularly argument. It wasn't the first time you'd, but this time felt different, like a wall had formed between the two of you. You lay on his luxurious king-sized bed, absently running your fingers through the soft fur of his golden retriever, Toby. The dog, loyal and affectionate, had been your companion during these cold days of silence. Toby's gentle warmth was a small comfort in the icy atmosphere that had taken over your marriage. Ryan? Jimin's voice broke the silence, soft but carrying an edge of tension. You didn't bother looking at him, instead focusing on Toby. The dog wagged his tail as if oblivious to the storm brewing between his two humans. Ryan, he said again, this time with a trace of frustration. I'm talking to you. Still, you ignored him. The satisfaction of his growing impatience tugged at the corner of your, but you stayed quiet, Toby's head instead. A heavy sigh escaped Jimin, and you heard his footsteps draw nearer. Suddenly, he scooped Toby up from your arms, eliciting a surprised yelp from the dog. Jimin, you snapped, bolting upright. What is your problem? He didn't answer immediately, carrying Toby to the door and letting him out. When the door clicked shut, he turned to face you, his dark eyes filled with something. What is my problem? He repeated, his voice low. Why were you ignoring me? The sadness in his tone caught you off guard, but you weren't ready to let your guard down just yet. Why? You asked, crossing your arms. Were you jealous? His gaze dropped to the floor, and the silence that followed was answer enough. A smirk tugged at your as you got up from the bed and stepped closer to him. No way, you murmured, leaning in slightly. You're actually jealous. Jimin's jaw clenched, but he didn't say a word. You tilted your head, reaching up to gently lift his chin, him to meet your gaze. Jimin, you said softly, a hint of in your tone. You're jealous of your own dog, aren't you? I don't like sharing, he muttered, so quietly you almost didn't catch it. Your breath hitched. In his words, a chord deep within you. Before you could respond, Jimin closed the gap between you, his hands cupping your face as his. D was slow and deliberate, like he was trying to convey everything he couldn't say out loud. His thumb brushed your cheek as he whispered between. Especially you. Your heart fluttered at the admission, and you couldn't help but smile against. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against yours, his eyes searching yours for something: reassurance, forgiveness, love. You know that? you said, your voice soft. And you're impossible, he replied, a faint smile tugging at his. For the first time in days, the tension between you eased, replaced by something warmer and far more precious. Don't ever ignore me like that again, he murmured. Then don't give me a reason to. You, back playfully. Jimin chuckled, the sound low and rich. Deal. As he pulled you into another, you realized that, despite his cold exterior, Jimin's heart for you, and only you.
So taking my hand, controlling under 하루 종일 생각만 하는 날 Oh baby, just tell me 너도 느끼고 이런 감정쯤이라도 왜 특별한 걸